Hey everyone, welcome to the Internet of Things podcast. This is your host, Stacey Higginbotham, and your co-host,
Kevin Toffel.
And we have an awesome show for you today. We've got some news from Amazon. We've got Google's new speakers and bringing IoT to water utilities, also to the insurance world. And Sprint's got a new IoT platform that we'll talk briefly about. And BlackBerry is also launching a new security platform for IoT. Plus, we have on the show Kim Kelly, who is the CEO of Hampton Products International. They are the company behind the Brinks brand of locks. They've got a new connected product. We talk a little bit about that, but we spend a lot of time talking about the impact of tariffs on IoT devices. So you're going to want to stay tuned to that if you are making devices or if you plan on buying them and hopefully not spending quite as much money. So this podcast is sponsored by SAS, an analytics software provider, and also Auklet. So let's hear from one of our sponsors. This week's sponsor is Auklet. With 64% of IoT consumers reporting performance issues, you need an edge-first application performance monitoring solution. Choose Auklet, the problem-solving software that watches your application, system, and their environments for issues. From device anomalies to fleet-wide errors, Auklet will provide you with the intel you need to solve problems before your customers find them. Sign up today at auklet.io. That's auklet.io. Okay, Kevin, this show is going to be a bit of a challenge because one of our big stories is Amazon planning to release at least 8 new Madam A-powered gadgets. And a reminder to everybody listening that Madam A is the Amazon Echo's digital assistant. So these devices include a microwave, an amplifier, and some in-car gadget. I expect we're going to see these pretty soon because the holiday season is coming up. So we're not going to talk a whole lot about them. But I want everyone to stay tuned for Amazon news because if and when these come out, we're going to be on it. Right, Kevin?
Absolutely. It could happen at any time. You never know with Amazon. So
that sounded kind of Trumpy the way you said it. It could happen at any time.
Yes, they're making the products in China. Sorry.
Okay, we're going to talk about tariffs later. Don't worry. You don't have to do that because I know that's a favorite topic right there. So we can talk about what is actually happening with the Amazon ecosystem. They launched this week something called Madam A Gadgets Toolkit. And this is a really I think this is actually a really cool thing. What this is this lets your devices interact with the Amazon Echo devices. Kevin, you want to give an example?
Yeah, these devices which work over Bluetooth, and I say these devices meaning these are devices that will be coming. People will have to make these devices or add these features to existing devices. They can send events to an Echo, or they can receive information from an Echo. So some examples that Amazon gives, because again, this is all a software development kit. It's not an actual product that you just go out and buy. They have like wake word detection. For example, your gadget could respond when it hears the Madam A wake word. So if you had, it's not a great example, but a Bluetooth connected cuckoo clock, it could pop its head out whenever you say Madam A. So you can add some things to your house that can do other things. Like they even say, maybe you have a robot that can lip sync as Madam A reads the local weather. So it would appear as if the robot is actually saying the words. So you can do notifications, timers, and alarms, and even music. And I thought the music example was kind of cool because I don't know if growing up you saw these on dashboards of cars. The
hula dancers?
The hula dancer, exactly.
Oh my gosh, were you serious? Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So here's what they say. The music aspect of this gadget SDK is coming soon. You can't do this yet. But they say, for example, you could create visual performances with music, such as a hula girl that sways her hips when songs are playing on Amazon Music. So it's kind of extending the Echo into other devices, not for providing you information per se, but more for interactive things.
Right. And it's clearly Amazon is looking at this for games, probably heading into the holiday season, because they talk a lot about using it with toys and baby products. So I think this is interesting because big picture, we actually talked about this, I think, on last week's show, where we said that basically Google and Amazon's Madam A ecosystem are basically the standards in IoT. And from that perspective, this basically gives the Echo a data schema that other devices can now see. So it can understand when Madam A is alerted, it can understand various commands and information, things that it can do. So this is a pretty powerful tool. And it sounds like, I mean, if you think about the native support for various devices like light bulbs and switches and even ovens now, those are also data schemas for those devices that only work with Madam A. And so they're kind of building this standard out here. And is it great because it's not interoperable? Well, no, but it is happening.
No, yeah, I agree. I'd say no, it's not great that it wouldn't be interoperable between everything in the house, for example. But I'd rather at least have a platform that has its own standard.
Yes.
So that way, all of the devices that work with that platform, such as that works with Madam A logo and such, you know it's going to work. So, I think it's smart of Amazon to do this. And yeah, I wish it was more open, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And if you only end up with Google, Amazon, and I don't know, do we still count HomeKit? We can't count it out, but okay. So yes, those might end up being our platforms. And I mean, that's not terrible. It's not. And if you're a developer building some sort of new product, it is possible to get all those three things working on a device, even though it is really freaking hard. So, and that's better than having to integrate with every other thing out there individually.
Right. You mentioned that there's going to be some kid-focused products that could work with this. And in fact, Amazon announced that later this year, the Madam A gadgets for kids would be implemented. And they have 4 or 5 different hardware makers that have plans already. BrushBots by Wowie. Wowie, I think, makes the small little robots and things, but they're making smart toothbrushes called BrushBots. And then those would measure motion and sense the motion. So that way, and the time of kids brushing their teeth. And that could interact with Madam A through this gadgets for kids. So they like, hey, you can make games because you can now interact with this toothbrush. So lots of potential here.
I think so. I'm, again, really excited. Plus, you tie that to last week's news that we talked about, and I think it was actually 2 weeks ago, which was the Madam A talking to sensors and expanding capability to Centralite sensors and sensors stuck to the SmartThings system. And we're starting to see some really powerful stuff coming with the ecosystem. So again, really excited about this.
Don't overlook Waddles the smart duck.
Waddles the smart duck, yes. The rubber ducky that plays music and talks to the Echo and hangs out with you and your kid.
Yep.
Okay, I joke, but man, when my daughter was born, you guys, it was 2006, and I want y'all to know that the iPhone wasn't even out yet.
Get out.
Get out. So I tell people, like new moms, they're like, oh, at least I have my phone while my baby's sleeping or nursing or whatever. And I'm like, I had nothing. I didn't even have a Kindle. It was a dark time. So It's good to be a parent right now. Okay. Speaking of giant smart home platforms, let's talk about Google. I did get my new Google speaker. I haven't been home, which is, tough for a smart home reporter. So I haven't been able to install it, but soon I will be as excited about it as Kevin, I feel.
That's the Lenovo Smart Display, right?
Yes, but there are new products coming out from Google.
Allegedly.
This is the week for alleged products. Let's talk about Google's alleged products.
I believe this is real. This looks like a very legitimate leak. We knew that Google was going to do its own smart speakers or had plans to do its own. It just worked with Lenovo and JBL first earlier this year. But a site called mysmartprice.com apparently has all of the leaked information on the brand new, coming soon, Google Home Hub, which is their smart speaker. It's a 7-inch display. I would anticipate it will be debuting on October 9th because that is the Google hardware event in New York. And I like this and I don't like this because it is very similar in terms of functionality to the existing smart displays. However, Stacy, you have a camera on your Lenovo Smart Display along with a little privacy shutter, and you use that for duo calls. Surprisingly, there is no camera on this device. This device is like a 7-inch tablet in landscape mode, and it's attached to the back of a speaker base, which the speaker base looks much bigger than what's currently available from the other smart displays, so that's good. But I'm shocked there would be no duo support, no camera, but maybe because this is a landscape-only device.
I also think it might be smart because people are a little iffy about Google right at this particular moment in time. There's, remember the location drama?
Oh, yeah.
And more so than Amazon, which has a business model that we tend to think we understand, which you're like, oh, they sell us stuff. That's their business. Google is still, they have this kind of weird ad-centric, business
They're
model.
they're
that
a
people
data broker is what they are.
Yeah, so I can see why they might be a little hesitant on this. Plus, it probably lowers the cost a little bit, and that might
Sure.
be good. And they also have, maybe it makes sense because they're not cannibalizing their partners' products with.
But that's the funny part of it. It's almost like, hey, people don't trust us with data, so we're going to be a little more private, not put a camera. But hey, partners, you go ahead and put your cameras in.
Well, that is a point.
It is kind of funny, but whatever. So everything that your smart display that you haven't had a chance to use yet can do, this will do. So you can stream music. It's a Chromecast receiver. You can watch YouTube videos on it. You can use the Google Assistant for controlling your home, getting information, etc. And you have the display for all that touchscreen display. So everything we've talked about with the LG Smart Display, you can do on this. Here's the thing. The rumored price is $149, which is cheaper than the Smart Display, even the 8-inch Smart Display. So that's good. Now here's the thing that I said I was kind of not excited about. I said back in March, it's time for Google to make a smart home hub. And this only supports 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth. So I would have liked to have seen Zigbee and Z-Wave radios in a product like this. Or even make it a Google Wi-Fi router for mesh as well, but I don't see any indication of that. This just feels like a missed opportunity, but maybe I'm too needy. I don't know.
Man, you are so focused. Kevin, you're like Kevin dreams of hubs.
Yes.
So you've got such strong, you're like, I hate hubs, but I want a hub, but only
Just
one hub.
I want one
Just one
hub.
hub. The issue here, and this is a big challenge in the smart home, is for most products that people are buying today, they're one-off products. They're like, I need a smart lock. Hubs, what you want is Zigbee and Z-Wave, which makes sense, but those are sensor-based products. Those are for things, yes, there are light switches and all kinds of things, but for the most part, the only thing we don't really have great stuff in the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth world is sensors. Because, Wi-Fi is a battery hog, Bluetooth mesh took a while coming and it's starting, so we might see some Bluetooth sensors that are really capable. But for now, that's what's missing. And I think that'll actually come relatively soon. I'm hopeful.
And if it does, I'll be okay, quite honestly. I'll be okay.
Yes, well,
and it's all about me. Obviously, it's all about me.
Kevin. I feel like, you're still going to complain about hubs because, some of the really cool stuff requires one. And yeah, so I know you hate them. There's a really good reason they're not out there. If everyone started clamoring for sensors and wanted to really deeply program their smart home, I think we'd get there. But until then, I don't think so. Oh, and I should say that you're going to be at this event. So the podcast coming out the week of the Google news, Kevin will have been there and he'll give us all his firsthand impressions. So that's going to be fun. Also, speaking of Google, little stat for you. The Google Home Mini was the best-selling smart speaker in Q2. Was it really sold or was it just packaged along with every single device I felt like I could buy at Best Buy or Google store?
I don't know. And it's shipments, not sales. This is a report from Strategy Analytics. Their numbers are usually pretty good, regardless of the word they use, sales or shipments. But they say in the second quarter that the Google Home had 2.3 million global shipments compared to the Echo Dot's 2.2 million shipments. So pretty darn close, but I think this may be the first time that has happened.
We're at a crossover point.
Yes, it could well be. I don't know, but I think it's the first time.
Okay. Oh, and speaking of all of this, and especially the hubs and smart home complexity, I should say, because I wrote about it for the newsletter, but if you don't read the newsletter, which is okay, and you only listen to us, I had an Amazon smart person come to my house and set it up.
That's right. Yes, you paid $50 for that.
$50. I think it was $49.95. And I had a lovely gentleman who is actually employed by Amazon show up at my house for an hour-long consultation for the smart home. And some people asked, they were like, did you do it just to show him up? And I was like, I did not. I had some problems with my implementation that I wanted to fix. And let me tell you guys, this fellow knew what he was talking about. He walked in, he's like, wow, you already have a lot of stuff. Like within 2 minutes of my home, he had identified all of these brands and products. He even identified my Logitech Harmony Hub just from the little IR receiver that was stuck on top of the cabinet. He's like,
and just to be clear, he did not know who you were, that you do this show or anything like that. You went through the typical customer process.
Yes. I did while he was there tell him, because he was like, you really have a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I do this for a living. I review these gadgets for a living. And I'm not mentioning his name. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the experience. If there had been, I would have called Amazon and we would have talked about it before we talked about it here on the show. But I will say, he was prepared to install. He was prepared to give me advice on which things to buy. What we ended up doing, because I already have a lot of things already installed, is we ended up focusing on programming a few routines for me because I find it so tedious. I'm like, I'll make him do the tedious, boring stuff, and maybe he'll have ideas for things I can include. And we also talked about my naming issues. So I have a lot of devices, and sometimes when I ask the Echo to turn something on or off, Madam A will be like, which device did you mean? And then I'll have to say it again. So his advice to me was actually to name everything that was in my living room light 1, living room light 2, living room lights for the group, and living room blinds, living room fan, all of these things. And that actually, for some reason, helped. I had been trying to come up with creative names for everything because it seemed easier with other systems, but I just kind of acquiesced. He did say a couple things. I didn't realize you could add for your routines. If you create a grouping of lights, you can just add the group into the routine, so you don't have to add the lights individually, which...
Helpful.
If everyone else knew that, good on them, but I didn't. And I was like, ooh, thank you. And then the other thing he told me is that I could, if I wanted to, name things only in the Madam A app. If I didn't want to do it, like my Lutron lights, for example, I could either name them in the Lutron app, and then those would populate because my Lutron hub shares data with Madam A, with Siri, and with Google. Or I could just change the names in Madam A if I didn't want to mess up the names in the other two platforms. This is important because for a while, Google really hated it that I named everything in the living room, this, that, and the other thing. I personally do not want different names for everything in each different ecosystem. So I'm still dealing with the frustration of certain systems liking different naming procedures. But, if you're really organized and you want your devices to basically have 3 different names, you could.
So is this available for pretty much anybody who wants to call Amazon and say, hey, I want somebody to come to my house for $49 or whatever it is and help me, get started or whatever?
So I'm not sure. It came up as an option in my Amazon. Because they're an employee of Amazon, my hunch is if you're out in the middle of nowhere, maybe not. But I bet you could find it. You're near a major city.
Right. I probably could do it. I don't know that I will, but it sounds like you had a pretty good experience. And would you recommend this for somebody who's brand new to smart homes? Because that's like the typical question we get, right? I don't know where to start, but I know what I want. I don't know what I want it to do. I don't know what I want to have, but I want a smart home. So would this be good for those people?
Yes, he would be this one guy. Just this one guy. I mean, I'm assuming, and I should tell you, he was a genius before an Apple genius before he worked for Amazon. He crossed the border, or the Rubicon. I'm not sure which one for him. So this particular individual, I feel confident saying that if you called this person to your house, that he would be able to help you in setting stuff up. He actually gently prompted me he's like, so what kind of scenes do you want? And I was like, oh, let's do movie time. And how about conversation? He's like, conversation? What? And I explained what I was after. He's like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Okay. And then he actually even made some proactive suggestions for some things based on the devices I had. And he looked around and he's like, oh, the Lutron lights. I love those. I actually recommend those to everybody. And, he liked the Wink Hub. He liked the Logitech Harmony. He did not force me to buy a Fire TV infrared cube thing, which was nice. So overall, I would say it was a really good experience. He even, bless his heart, tried to help me find a smart lock for my front door, which is impossible because of the locking mechanism. But he was like all ready. He was gung-ho, ready to try. And he's like, I could text you if I find anything. I'm like, you go right ahead. If he finds something, he's now going to be elevated to IoT hero. But for now, again, really positive experience. $50 for an hour of this person's time. If you didn't feel comfortable installing, you'd probably have to do at least 2 because you would want this person and there's additional installation fees. But coming out and saying, oh, this is your life? Well, here's some ideas that might work for you. And here's the products you should buy, or I think you should buy. And I think you would actually have a good experience from that. Okay. Hey, Let's talk about utilities, Kevin. Woo! Yeah, let's do that with Telstra.
Right. So Telstra down in Australia, which has now two IoT networks. They have a NB-IoT network as well as a Cat-M network. They have hooked up with some major water utilities down there. We don't know which ones, but basically this will allow the water utilities to track and monitor water usage, conservation, maybe leaks, etc. It's not something that you as a consumer are going to use, but maybe it's offered through your utility company. Now, this uses their NB-IoT network, which covers 3.5 million square kilometers down there. And they do have, as I said, the Cat-M network as well, but they're not using it for this. And that's because of the amount of data. They have two networks depending on what it is you want to do with IoT. One is better suited than the other.
I was just going to remind people, NB-IoT, itty bitty bits of data, very cheap. Cat-M1, up to a megabit per second of data, so you can do a little bit more with that.
Exactly. So like, for instance, the water services don't need a ton of data. They don't push a lot of data. They don't need a lot of bandwidth. But Telstra does sell 3 different tracking devices that need more bandwidth, and therefore they use the Cat-M1 network.
Yay! And in other exciting news after the utilities is insurance. So a company called Hippo Insurance is doing a deal with a company called Notion. And I've written about Notion. They make these discs, is the best. They're they're not hockey puck size. They're smaller than that are sensors. They have, temperature, humidity, water leak, a lot of information, motion, very easy to use. So Hippo has done a deal with Notion to give new Hippo customers in qualifying states a Notion Smart Home Starter Kit when they sign up for an insurance policy. This is like, A, about darn time, and B, kind of what we've talked about for a while, which is trying to get insurance companies to subsidize what is kind of a high price for a lot of smart home devices. People feel kind of like, water leak sensors, kind of pricey. I'd rather do something cool like a color changing bulb or nothing. That's probably the more common thing to say. But this is, your insurance providers helping you out with this kit. And it has also created a policy that integrates the information from this sensor. It's also the first policy to integrate this information into their pricing. So what will happen is, not only do a lot of times you get like a 5% discount if you add like a security system or things like that. They're basically lowering the cost as long as you have this kit installed. And I think it'll be great to see what kind of data they get from that. So it's an exciting deal. I would keep an eye on it because, this I think actually is the future. So, okay, moving right along. Let's talk about standards, IoT security standards. Woo! Are we excited yet?
Going from utilities to standards, I don't know.
Is it a step up in the world? I don't know. So Sprint has launched what it's calling the Curiosity IoT platform. And, I kind of made fun of this when it came out because who needs another IoT platform? But here we are with yet another one from Sprint.
This one has a lot of moving parts. It's not just Sprint, or it's Sprint working with SoftBank, who now owns ARM.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's the ARM for connectivity management and SIM solutions. This is like for provisioning cellular devices with IoT, as well as something called Packet, which it's another SoftBank company. SoftBank's really smart. They're buying all these other companies that are in the space and then just putting them together. It's almost like being a smart venture capitalist, using your own investment companies to put things together. But Packet enables an advanced core network with bare metal servers at the edge that can be activated in minutes, according to Sprint.
Yeah, and so the bare metal servers are important because the underlying feature here is basically that you control your edge network yourself as a customer. And that means you can put your own containers or virtualize it however you want. It also means that you can reduce latency because you're going to run everything at the edge. This is okay. Right now, the network for it is going to be LTE and Cat-M. They're very excited, saying 5G is coming.
Isn't everybody excited by that?
Yes. I'm like, 5G is coming. But let's see. Other things that are good. They've thought about power consumption, which is good. They allow you to run this with different operators in different countries, which is good for, if you're monitoring things that travel around the world. And their plan is to launch it in 8 areas in November, 14 in February, and then 150 in 2019. So that's the Curiosity Core. They also have an operating system that ties into this and handles device and data management, all that fun stuff that every IoT platform has to have. And then they have on top of that what they call IoT solutions. These are actually pre-packaged clusters of features for things like vehicle and fleet management or personal safety and smart cities. That's a bit vague. But some of these are really aimed at like companies that don't want to have to do all this integration work and build everything themselves.
And that makes sense because you can put the platform out there, but if nobody wants to do the work to use it, it's not going to go anywhere. So by targeting different verticals or use cases and providing a canned place to start, so to speak, or even a whole solution, that's how you're going to get customers.
Yes. And we're going to see if that, we'll see. I mean, the devil's in the details on these. So we'll see how well Sprint has straddled the line between customized enough and flexibility, which is everybody's issue here. So again, nice package. We'll see if people are going to use it. I feel like there's a lot out there, but this could give someone a run for their money, I guess. All right. Next up is BlackBerry.
And I'm surprised it took BlackBerry so long to really get into the IoT space, but that's what they're doing.
Well, no. They've been in there for a while.
Oh, have they?
Remember QNX way back in 2012, 2011? They were touting QNX, which is an embedded system, software development system, as something appropriate for IoT. But it really wasn't because it didn't have like a free RTOS.
Yeah, QNX was, and still is, heavily in automotive for entertainment systems and such. And I think they wanted to leverage it. In fact, they tried to once with their BlackBerry Playbook tablet. That went nowhere. So yeah, you're right. I guess you could say they tried to pivot QNX into something that it really wasn't. But it's okay because now they have BlackBerry Spark.
Exactly. And Kevin, what is BlackBerry Spark?
So this is their platform for IoT security. So like, for example, it could cut off a device's connectivity based on location or deciding on a risk factor. It has unified endpoint management. So that is part of the deployment and updating for devices, also notification of security threats. And, I was going to say, and that's about it. However, they also are including something they're calling London Shield. And this will use the data from the system, and this could be, some people may not like this, it will take data from businesses and people that use this technology and use it to train the AI software in Spark, and therefore the more secure organizations and individuals will be as more people use it. And that makes sense from a technical standpoint, but I wonder if anybody's going to be concerned about privacy on these IoT devices.
Well, if it's just the security threats and incursions, that's actually something that a lot of security companies actually offer today. They pull that data in and then train their models and they update them for the latest threats. And then we also have there are groups you send your threat informations to and they compile it and send it out. I mean, this sounds like that, or is it different?
I don't know. There's not a lot of details on London Shield.
Okay, well, we'll wait and find out more. And in the meantime, it is time to talk about our question of the day, or rather, our entry from the IoT podcast hotline, which is brought to you by Schlage. Don't miss your chance to win a Schlage Sense Smart Deadbolt and Wi-Fi adapter this month. You can enter to win by calling us at 512-623-7424 and leave us a question. Then, at the end of this month, which ends on September 30th at midnight Eastern Time, then we will cut off new entries and we will draw a name and announce you guys on the next show and send you out a Schlage Sense Smart Deadbolt and Wi-Fi adapter. It's very nice. It's very nice. Remember, smarter homes start with Schlage. Okay, so this week we have, as our question, a voicemail from Alistair.
Hey Stacey, it's Alistair here from Sydney, Australia. I'm a long-time listener and I'm looking for a solution for a door buzzer and remote intercom for my apartment that I live in. I have a current intercom system by STR Electronics, and I've had a look around at a few solutions like Nello and Monkey, but just wanted to know your thoughts and if you had any solutions that I guess would work better, or if there was any kind of intercom solution, that would be great. Thanks very much.
Oh, Alistair, about a year ago, someone else had this exact same question for me, and they too were looking at Nello. And just so you know, the Monkey platform that you were talking about actually became Nello. It started out as a Kickstarter for Monkey, and now it is Nello. I'm really enjoying saying the word Nello. Okay, So what this is a speaker that you pop on the intercom button area in your apartment. And yes, your existing intercom. And it's inside your apartment. And it basically communicates with the electrical signals that are happening. So you can talk to the person at the door if you want to. And you can also send a signal to open the door. Now, that's all well and good. If you want them to come all the way up into your apartment, though, after you've buzzed them in, you're going to need a smart lock on your door, and you're going to have to open that. So that's kind of how that works. The Nello website, if you know your intercom maker, they will give you compatibility information. They seem pretty compatible with lots of things, and they also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if it doesn't work, you can always send it back. I don't know how hard it is to install. I don't have this problem, so I haven't tried this device.
Based on the Nello website, it doesn't seem too difficult to install. It's literally connecting to your existing intercom system in your apartment complex. And therefore, it's not any drilling or anything like that. You literally kind of connect it via jumpers to your existing intercom system. And when you're done, when you move from that complex, you can actually unwire it and take it with you. So it doesn't seem so bad, but it's going to set you like 500 euros back, and that's a lot of money.
But if you never want to get off the couch, it might be worth it.
That's true. That's a lot of money, though.
Well, no, I mean, there are people with like mobility issues. I mean,
yeah.
Or, new parents. You've got a baby in one hand, the Amazon Echo in another. It's high drama. Waddle the ducks running around. I mean, a lot of drama going on. So yeah, Alistair, that seems to be the best option. And the nice thing is it doesn't require your landlord, because I was thinking, I guess you could stick like a Nest doorbell out there tied to a connected lock, but then you got to talk to your doorman, and a lot of apartments have. That's actually another thing. Depending on your apartment and depending on your country's regulations, you may not be able to install a smart lock on your apartment because there are rules about someone having a master key to give emergency personnel workers in cases of fire and that sort of thing. So just be aware of that.
Good point.
But you could at least get the buzzer capability, and then you have to get off the couch. I don't know. Okay. Or you could actually do that and not worry about fire safety. And, again, your call.
It's up to you.
Okay. So if you have a question or you would like to enter to win a Schlage Sense Smart Deadbolt and Wi-Fi adapter, give us a call at 512-623-7424, and we may answer your question. All right, it is time to move on to our guest. This week's guest is Kim Kelly, the CEO of Hampton Products International, and he's going to talk about a new Wi-Fi powered smart lock that they launched last week and the impact of tariffs on IoT devices and other consumer devices. This is big news in the world at large, so I hope you enjoy it. And now, a word from our sponsor. Hey everyone, we are taking a break from this week's Internet of Things podcast for a message from our sponsor. This week's sponsor is SAS, and I have Jason Mann, who is VP of IoT at SAS, here to talk to us. In the last few weeks, we've talked about SAS, edge computing, and what it's doing with IoT. This week, we're going to talk about the IoT partner ecosystem you guys are creating. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, it's a critical element in the IoT space. The fact is there are multiple components that are required to bring together to complete the total solution for customers. So if you think about the asset infrastructure, whether it's deployed locomotives or turbines or windmills or the various assets themselves that are generating the data with all of the sensor deployments around them. There's the storage networks, whether it be cloud or premise, the network itself and the methods to transport the data. And there's so many variations there, from satellite to low power WAN networks to 5G. Domain expertise is certainly critical. And we think certainly an important component of that is analytical capabilities. So we really feel like these ecosystems have to be defined, tested, verified before a total solution can be delivered to market.
Where do you see the examples of this ecosystem approach helping customers get better results?
So you do see it across industry. What our focus is to identify these industry clouds, partners that are in the space. IoT platforms is another example. And then work with them to plug SAS in as the analytics engine of choice. A great example of that is a partnership that we have with GE Transportation and their EdgeLink offering, where SAS is embedded in their device. And in this case, those devices are deployed to locomotives, but they can be deployed to any high capital asset and help both with processing at the edge and the prep for data as we move it back into the server or cloud environment. So that's one example where we're seeing great success with helping reduce dwell time, which is highly associated with fuel burn, and early indication of potential failures that the operators may be experiencing.
And it sounds like when you're dealing with lots of partners, and in the IoT we are, that openness is really a big deal. How do you guys address that?
It certainly is. There's wide market adoption of openness. And what we have to be sure of is that we're not a displacement technology around a lot of the investment that our channel partners or operators have with some of the open source capabilities. I'll use Python as an example. You see wide use of that with respect to creating models. What we do find is that there's an issue with being able to transition modeling language into operational deployment where you have enterprise scale and sustainment being a primary objective. And we try to help with that by providing the analytics platform as a basis for that continuing value generation.
Excellent. Where can we go to find out more about SaaS and its partner ecosystem?
The best place for IoT information in our ecosystem can be found going to saas.com/IoT.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Internet of Things podcast. This is your host, Stacey Higginbotham, and today's guest is Kim Kelly, the CEO of Hampton Products International. Hi Kim, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Stacey. How are you?
I am superb, and I am excited to talk to you because just this month, you guys launched a brand new connected lock on the market, and it's kind of different than most connected locks. So we're going to talk about that, but first, let's level set with Hampton Products International. What is that?
Hampton was established to create a security hardware platform, initially in padlocks or portable security, as we call it now. And we knew that over time, we would be able to create very innovative branded security hardware, not only in padlocks, but in door locks and security hardware and electronics. No one at that point foresaw the advent of IoT and the Internet of Things. But that has given us a real opportunity to create some very distinctive security hardware products under both the Brinks and the Hampton brand names. So we did launch, to your point, last Thursday. We announced that the Array Deadbolt would begin shipping on or about October 1st to consumers, and we're really excited about that launch.
Okay, when I saw the lock, I was most impressed by the fact that it uses Wi-Fi. And it has solar panels on it, so it can charge if it's outdoors. Obviously, not if you install this inside your garage or something. Why go with Wi-Fi above Bluetooth or some of the other technologies out there?
In 2010, when we started this, what has become an odyssey, and we designed a connected home platform, we knew that consumers told us that they wanted to start with the deadbolt. They call that kind of the handshake as you're going into the house. And so 4 years ago, we had outlined the structure of the way this deadbolt should be built. And as we interviewed consumers and we talked to lots of people in the IoT world, they all said, boy, if there's a way for you to do this without creating a hub or a gateway, and it could just connect directly to the home router, that would be awesome. What we knew would be a challenge would be power, because most people in a residential home don't have power to their front door. So we knew we'd have to come up with a really robust battery and software configuration that would extend battery life beyond just a couple of weeks. Over the last 4 years, by combining the solar technology with some really innovative battery and circuitry technologies, we've been able to create a platform where if this lock is installed in your front door, you may get up to 7, 8, or 9 months of battery life out of a single battery. If you get indirect sunlight, it could be 30, 60, or 90 days. And if it's installed in your garage, to your point, then it's going to be probably 30 days max. So to account for that, we elected ultimately to put two 5,200 milliamp batteries in each package so that the consumer can keep one battery fully charged. When the Array app tells you that your battery's down to maybe 10% life left, then you can pull it out and put in your second battery, and that process takes about 5 seconds.
With this lock, its MSRP is $299, which feels kind of pricey compared to some of the other locks. I mean, the closest is going to be the Nest by Yale lock that's $249. Are you concerned that you're coming in high in this market?
We really have challenged ourselves in our thinking about the value. And originally, our target price was to be between $249 and $259. To build in the solar technology and to give consumers two $50 suggested retail price batteries in a single package forced us to take the suggested retail price to $299 initially. We're expecting, like every consumer product in this field, that over time we're going to be able to squeeze cost out. In fact, right now we're working on a improved battery technology and, to your point, a non-solar version that could be installed in the garage with superior battery life and clearly a lower price because we wouldn't have the solar technology built into the lock. So yes, I think it's a relatively high price for a very premium product going in. It's a grade 2 deadbolt, which will mean something to locksmiths and some consumers. It'll certainly mean a lot to our retail customers who insist on a real high quality deadbolt product as the foundation for these IoT devices. But over time, we do expect that it would be able to be reduced in cost, that it would still connect directly to the consumer's router in their home Wi-Fi, and that battery life could be extended as the technologies continue to improve.
The focus of this show isn't actually on the product, but I did want to talk about it because I think it's important for people to understand what you do. And what I really wanted to talk to you about is something that's actually on our minds this week because it's happening again, is tariffs. And this weekend, the Trump administration said they might actually go forward with another round of tariffs on roughly $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. And a lot of these are going to hit the consumer electronics industry. So I'm very curious about your take on this. So pro-tariff or not pro-tariff, first off?
Well, mostly I'm in favor, as I think the administration is, of a level playing field. And for sure, coming into the United States and moving into China, the playing field isn't level across all categories. The administration has focused on, at this point, an additional $200 billion worth of China imports into the United States, as you pointed out. And I think any change in tariffs is going to significantly impact most U.S. businesses. This proposal will impact thousands of businesses in the United States. If we didn't do anything and simply absorb the tariffs and were unable to pass our pricing along, it would put our company out of business. So I'm going to guess that there are a number of unknown and unintended consequences that would be associated with this move. For sure, most companies in our industry are going to be impacted by this proposed next round of tariffs. But to understand the impact or the background, you really have to understand what consumers in the United States have grown to expect and what retailers have gone out of their way to be able to provide for them. The retailers feel that there's appropriately an obligation for them to give consumers the best value on each one of the products that they offer. So that is the highest quality product at the best price. And to ensure that in a global marketplace, the retailers get that value, they hold line reviews virtually every year in every product category. Hampton has spent 27 years in Southeast Asia and principally in China, making sure that we could provide the best value to our customers and then on to their consumers so that we remain competitive, that we're going through a process of continuous improvement, and that we're able to meet our customers and their consumers' expectations.
That makes sense. I do love buying things for cheap. So let's talk about your history with Chinese manufacturing, because obviously this company has been around for a while. And where has it manufactured its products?
When we bought Dale Hampton Lock Company back in 1990, we actually did have an 85% ownership in a small padlock manufacturing concern in Taiwan. Shortly after that, because I had been going to China for 3 years at that point, we ended up moving most of the manufacturing into China because we found in one case that there was generations of experience making the products that we were interested in making and expanding. The change that we've seen in China has been rapid and significant, but it's taken generations to take China from a relatively primitive manufacturing concern in the 80s to a world leader in a number of different industries today. They've got great labor, phenomenal work ethic, access to quality raw materials. They're operating in a global marketplace. They can shop for the best value in raw materials anywhere in the world. They've got a willingness to co-invest in the equipment and the tooling and people training, especially engineering, and in the infrastructure. Over the last 30 years, they've built terrific inland transportation, improved their ports, their power supply, and more recently, their concern about environmental and sustainability issues has become much more acute. We've got an example in one of our factories where 80% of our power for the factory plus the 7 dormitories that we operate on this facility are solar powered. And there aren't very many factories like that, even in the United States today. So the significant investment that people have made in wages and benefits and healthcare and families and quality of life and could be upset by a tariff dispute. And so we're hoping that the trade war doesn't happen. It will have, as I said, unknown and unintended consequences on hundreds or thousands of businesses, including ours.
Okay. So would you be able to or willing to move manufacturing somewhere else?
We may be forced to. A couple of points on this. Hampton in 1999 made significant commitments to manufacturing facilities in Southeast Asia. We continued to make those investments until 2008, 9, and 10, when it became clear that if the trends continued, economic, labor, environmental, healthcare, if the trends continued in China that we were seeing and ocean freight continued to be as expensive as it had become, that it might make sense for us to move manufacturing back to the United States, which in 3 or 4 categories we did in 2013, 14, and 15. So we know exactly to the penny how much it costs to make these products in the United States. And after 3.5 years of trying, we ultimately ended up having to shutter those factories and move it back to Southeast Asia because we couldn't be competitive in the long term with other countries' manufacturing. If we were to move our manufacturing across the street within one country, it would take a year, it would create incredible disruption, and it would be very expensive. To move it to another country is increasingly expensive and increasingly complicated because you've got to deal with different cultures, different languages, different environmental regulation, different labor laws, etc. And that just takes time. And the issue that we've all got, the people in our industry, have with the tariff proposal is there's no time. In late July, the proposal was that the tariff burden on these $200 billion in imports would be around 10%. On August 1st, that number increased to 25%. Any tariff change will have a meaningful impact on not only our costs, but potentially, ultimately, the cost to the American consumer. One could argue that it could be short-term, but short-term pain, which some have described as relatively insignificant short-term pain versus the big picture, we believe is true. But for us to move manufacturing to another country will take time. And there are no guarantees that we're going to be able to replicate all of the different things that we were able to create in China.
Okay, so let's talk about something a little bit more fun. Let's talk about innovation. You guys last year actually established a relationship with a company called BenjiLock that was on, I think, Shark Tank for having a connected padlock. I would love to get your take and some tips from you on how to bring something that's very cool, very innovative, but may not be up to the quality standards of a physical device and kind of meld those two worlds together effectively.
This has been an exciting journey. And one of the things that we've learned over the last 27 years is that nearly every product sold in the United States is way more complicated than it looks. We looked at categories that you'd say, how difficult could that be? And then once you begin to understand the standards in the industry and the consumer's expectations and the manufacturing processes that are required to deliver on those things, we walked away from a lot of different business opportunities. But we do know how to make padlocks, we know how to make door locks, and we know how to make lighting and electrical products. And so with BenjiLock, when we saw this product at CES in January of 2017, and it had won an innovation award at CES, and we said, how can a padlock win the innovation award at an electronics show? And we met Robbie Cabral, the inventor, and we said, wow, this is a really cool product, and boy, is it going to be tough to build, because we understand what it takes to build padlocks. We didn't know a lot about fingerprint technology, and we didn't know a lot about the electronics that would have to support the two of them and how you'd integrate them. But we worked with Robbie, and we looked at this technology and said, there's a way for us to deliver this technology to the consumer in a way that could really delight the consumer, and it could meet or maybe even exceed the expectations of the inventor. Fast forward to October, and Robbie goes on Shark Tank, and he develops a relationship and ultimately secures an investment from Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. And in November, Kevin and Robbie's team and I ended up negotiating a license arrangement whereby Hampton would manufacture and market BenjiLock initially in North America. And we went on TV, and I met Robbie finally on November 30th, live on CNBC on the halftime report.
Wait, you met him for the first time live on CNBC?
We met for the first time live. Our team had been working with Robbie for over 8 months, but he and I didn't actually meet until we saw each other live on CNBC.
That is awesome.
It was a real feel-good moment, and the last 8 months has been filled with engineering, back and forth testing, penetration testing, all the stuff that goes with making a reliable, secure product that's got some cool technology into it. My point is that building a reliable, secure hardware product is difficult. Understanding technologies today is relatively simple, but marrying the two is very difficult. So when you're looking for a way to take a very complicated piece of technology and put it into a relatively simple security product, padlock or a deadbolt or a door lock or a security light or a coach light fixture or even a camera, you've got to pick the right partners. You've got to figure out a way to roadmap the products so that the partnerships that you've created and the technologies that are going to be required anticipate not only the consumer needs and the market condition of today, but can have some kind of line of sight to see what's going to happen downstream. Nothing is more complicated today than creating a roadmap for the Internet of Things.
Okay, I agree with you. It is hard to create product lines for the Internet of Things. What are the big challenges associated with that?
Well, first, you've got to start with being able to market the product. So as we're looking at security hardware products, we think we're pretty good at making reliable, secure products. Since we've been in business, we've sold over 1.5 billion units of locks and lighting and electrical products. And we've made years of investments. And in some cases, we've got generations of skill that's required to build these products. Understanding the tech is pretty straightforward. But the steps that we went through were pretty straightforward for a consumer packaged goods company. So the first thing you have to decide is, can it be done? The internal sessions that we had talking about, can we build a connected deadbolt that will connect directly to consumers' Wi-Fi and would not have power to it? And just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should. So we went out and talked to a bunch of consumers and said, what do you really want in this product? And in our case, it was security and convenience and the combination of those two. So to the extent that your product ends up not being either secure or it becomes an inconvenience, then you miss the mark. And then you've got to understand what your core competencies are. What are you good at? And then you've got to go out and rent the rest of it. So we made security hardware, but we didn't know anything about cloud technology or the software and the firmware and the app development that would support all that. So we had to go out and interview partners. And what made that tough and pretty interesting was the whole list of unknown unknowns. Because you're talking to people who are going to help you invent something or create something that's never been done before. So how do they point to something that says, in my area of expertise, I know I can do this because they've never done it before? So IoT platforms are covering a whole bunch of different products, but just because it's an IoT product doesn't mean that somebody who has expertise in one area of IoT is actually going to be able to translate their skills into another area. So I might be able to create an IoT voice-activated platform, but it doesn't mean that I can make a deadbolt. I might be able to create a security camera or a light switch that's IoT, but it doesn't mean that I can create a deadbolt. So we went through and we identified and vetted a whole bunch of different partners. And while we're developing the product, we have to continue to do market research to make sure that the world didn't pass us by while we were busy developing the widget that we had identified back on day one. And so the Array product, the Array deadbolt and BenjiLock have gone through, in the case of Array, 70 different iterations over the 4 years, most of them in the last 12 months. And BenjiLock, we made most of our changes to the design and development of the product in the last 90 days before launch. We launched BenjiLock in August of 2018. And as I said, we launched Array last Thursday in September, and we'll begin shipping that on or about October 1st.
Awesome. All right. Well, we've come full circle in this interview. And Kim, I really appreciate you coming on the show this week.
Oh, Stacey, it's been my pleasure.
That's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, if you'd like more IoT news, sign up for my newsletter at stacyoniot.com. We'll see you next week.